So in this tutorial, I'm going to go over using asynchronous JavaScript and XML, and it's otherwise known as Ajax. And what Ajax allows us to do is to have uh, more of a truly dynamic page where we can load external content. And part of the power of that is that we can load external content without having to refresh our pages. And Ajax has been around for about 10 years now. And really within the last 5 years, it's really become a major player. And it's become associated with the HTML5 way of doing things. So I have example files that I have provided to you if you have access to those. And up on my website, I also have some example files here. And if I'm going to go back to my first index page, and here it's just these 5 files, very simple introduction to using the Ajax. And I'll click on the first one, and there's a little bit of white noise here because I just have an excerpt of the code, as you can see. And then within the div, there's an external HTML file that's being loaded right here. And this is the div area that has a blue background. Okay, so this is the first example. Now, for this to work, you're going to have to use it and work with it on a server. So it's not going to work if you just try to use this on your own desktop unless you're going to be emulating a server on your machine. All right. So that's something to keep in mind. And so I do have a server. My server choice is fatcow.com. So you can go on up there and you can rent space from them for pretty cheaply. I don't know what it's going for now, but every time I check, it's always a little cheaper. It's like $5 a month or $10 a month or something along that lines. And you may be able to work it out to get server space for free from someone as well. Okay, so let's take a look at example 01 and see what's going on here with the magic. Now, first of all, we have to load in our jQuery. So that's in the script type on line 7, as you can see. Okay, so then everything else is white noise. It just doesn't need to be there, really, except for a div to load in the document. So this is going to be the div, or actually the div ID right here. And this is just telling it, where do I want to load the HTML? And it's going to load everything between the opening and closing body of test.html. So what you want to do, if you have a server space, is just create a very simple HTML document and put something between the body tags, and it'll be right here between the opening and the closing body. And that's our text that will appear when our page loads. Okay, example 01. If I come down here and look, I'll see that the ID for page, I want to find that. So that's going to be right down. Just can't see it because I have to scroll up here. So let me scroll this up, and it's going to be right in here. Excuse me. Okay, so that's going to be a blank area, as you can tell. So there's nothing there at this time, but it has an ID of page. So what happens is the server recognizes this right here as being your ID with help from the jQuery. And it uses that load method, and it's going to find and load in that test HTML page. Now you want to keep that in the same directory in this case, right, for your HTML and your TXT page. And I've also added other things as well. So once it's loaded in, then I can style that. So I can go ahead and style that div ID, okay, which I think I do right here. I actually just wind up styling all my divs, and so that gives it a background color of blue. Okay. Now the other thing to mention is that it doesn't have to be an ID. You can use a class, or you could just say div right up here, right? So you can load that HTML between really any opening and closing area. So it could be a paragraph, div, ID, so what have you. The other example is going to be example 2, and that's pretty similar, so I'll go ahead and show that right now. And click on that. And the only difference really is that it's loading a text file. So I just wanted to make sure that you can see that as well. that you can load HTML or text. You just got to keep in mind that the text is just going to load in. It's going to load in just everything on that page. And let me go see if I actually have that built up. That's some resources for you, but I don't have the actual text file right in front of me. Let me go see if I have that over here. There we go. I'll open that up and you can just see it. It's just a plain text file, but just so you can actually see that thing working. Right here. Actually, if I just double click on it, that should come up. There we go. All right, so that's it. So just the txt file, and but I would prefer to usually be using a HTML file, because then you can actually have images displayed and you can have content within that page that could be displayed within the opening closing div of your HTML file that you're loading it into.